Hey, what's up, you guys? This is Kiera.
This is Leah.
And this is Solo.
And you are listening to He Said, We Said. We have a very special episode today. We have some guests that'll be joining us. Sierra and Anthony. Everybody. Snapchat, whatever.
Welcome.
Appreciate you all for being on.
Yeah, so can you guys tell us about yourselves?
Absolutely. So, as you guys just mentioned, I'm Sierra.
I'm Anthony.
And together we are beautifully blending. So, we are sharing our story on social media about how we are blending our lives from online to everything after.
Nice. So we've talked about online dating on this show before. The three of us have had like very beginning or beginner's experience with it. But for you, you've been doing online dating for a few years, right?
Or used to.
Well, so not anymore.
Well, used to.
Met our match.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, so we were online dating a few years ago. I got on back in like 2018. Is that when you first started?
Probably.
Okay.
No, I'm kidding.
So like what made y'all go that route? Because it's kind of taboo still a little bit, I guess, maybe depending on where you live. But for Leah and I, we kind of run in the same circles, and a lot of our girlfriends are like anti-online dating. So what made you guys want to test it out?
Absolutely. So for me, it was just that I had been in a long-term relationship. So hitting reset after coming out of college and just trying to figure out like, how do you meet people now? Was kind of where I was coming from. So I decided to give it a try after a friend of mine convinced me to do it. I also thought it was really strange. I was like, that's for weirdos. I'm not doing it. So she convinced me to give it a try after I had been in a long-term relationship.
I know when I first started at that point, I was busy. Like I was always doing something. Just got back home from a deployment, like ripping and running. So I got 2 kids too. So I just didn't have as much time to get out. And plus, it helps open up more, instead of just being stuck in the same circle. It gave me eyes to a lot of different stuff that I wouldn't usually see.
I will definitely say I was introduced to people that I probably have never seen. So we, I guess, are all in Houston, and I know you guys are in Florida, right? And so I feel like when you go out, just like Kiera was mentioning, we're kind of in the same circles, and so you start to see the same people over and over again. And somehow, now I will say, online I saw people that I knew. However, there were a lot of people on there that I'm like, okay, where have y'all been hiding? Like, I have not seen y'all before. And so I think that was probably one of the things that I was like, okay, I could at least be open to this a little bit, because even on social media, you still are seeing your same circles. I just, when I think about it, I was very, very like anti. And so kind of overcoming it, definitely I needed the convincing of other people, i.e. Kiera.
Needed some testimony, huh?
Yes. You can't just hop into it because I was just like them. Or like how you were saying that it just felt like this is for weirdos. Or not even weirdos, but for people that think.
It's not natural. It's not natural.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why is it not natural though?
It's not natural. It feels very forced because when you're like meeting people out, you might come across one person. You have an opportunity to focus on one person at one time who's interested in you. And online, you get this flood of people who might have an interest. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It goes against kind of like in your head what you grow up thinking is supposed to be the right thing, right? Like we grow up thinking, okay, you're going to meet someone, and as soon as you meet them, you're going to know, and things are going to be this and things are going to be that. And so when you're introduced to the idea of online dating, it's like, that is not what I know to be correct. That's not what I know, and that's not the route I want to take. So for me, I was very, very skeptical. And I guess in this sense, I'm still hesitant.
Yeah, you haven't fully got in the water. It is warm. Come on in. But I will say, so I was definitely, at one point I was hesitant with like online dating, but like, I guess for me, it's like, if someone were to try to holler at me through my DMs on Instagram, like essentially, what's the difference between me, like, I guess going with that and not wanting to like meet somebody online. And then too, what I like about online dating is that I can kind of weed people out. So like if I see something on your profile and it's a non-negotiable for me, swipe whatever way that I don't want them. Is that left at that point? I don't know. But yeah, I can just weed them out instead of like, okay, I meet somebody at the gas station and after a date or 2 or 3, realizing like, dang, I would have seen this on your profile at the beginning. We could have, not wasted all this time. I'm just saying,
I ain't never met nobody good at the gas station.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say for me, my first impression was like when people were doing like Match.com, and I was just so apprehensive about it because it just felt like, I don't know, it felt a little desperate and it felt too formal, like you were putting in an application to, date people. But I think when you start getting those different apps that were coming out like around 13, 14, like Plenty of Fish and Tinder and Hinge, and it just made it user friendly. It made it easier. And then, it goes to the whole point of, you meet somebody in person, like a cold meet, and you don't know anything about that person, no different than you do online. So I don't know. I think 2014, I was just like, why not?
Yeah. To your point about the application thing, though, I say this to my friends all the time. I'm like, when you're looking for a job, the job's not going to come and find you. You have to let it be known. You have to let the job boards know, employers know that you're looking. And so that's kind of how I utilized it. I was like, my man is not going to break into my house and come and find me. I have to put it out there and let people know that I'm single, I'm looking, I'm available. And just like you guys said, you were running into your circle.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was an opportunity to like create that profile. If there were people in my circle that didn't know I was single or whatever, they saw me maybe on the app and then they had the opportunity to DM me. And so to your point about the whole application thing, that's exactly what I felt like it was too. I was like, I'm putting my application out there and seeing if I can find the right match or the right,
Yeah.
fit.
So you talked a little bit, I guess now if we kind of go and transition a little bit to the application in a sense, talk to us about like that profile setup or maybe kind of certain things that you would for sure add in your profile, for sure not put in your profile. So kind of like that first look.
Yes, I can start with that one because to her at first, I definitely had non-negotiables. I had quite a few. So I feel like if I would have had all of those listed, that would have she would have automatically went the opposite direction. But to me, I just feel like there's more to me than like the labels that she didn't care for. So I put the generic, the stuff that, we can, conversation starters, but not getting too deep right away because sometimes we can get, hung up on ourselves like this is a non-negotiable and just get out of here before you, try to get that person a chance to see what they're really about. So, I kept it, put enough to let them know I'm a real person, but not too much, where it's like, they can just get me out of there right away.
Yeah.
Totally agree. And like to provide clarity to that, for example, his profile was very vague. He had just enough on there to know that we had like stuff in common, but he definitely didn't go into detail that he had been married or that he had children or that he was in the military, which were all things on my list of like, that is not the type of man that I want. But I'm so happy to share with you guys that it was all based on assumptions that I had about that type of person. And as much as we hate for people to judge, books by their cover, whatever, that's exactly what I was doing. And all the assumptions that I made about what I thought that type of person was, God was like, ha ha, girl, he's not. I mean, he's going to be all those things, but he's not those things that you think that you don't like. So, but to answer y'all's question, I think it's really important to be very honest on your profile, like to live in your truth. And so for me, and he tells me in hindsight what attracted him to me is that I was very honest on my profile. I was like, listen, this doesn't feel right. I won't be here for a long time. I'm here for a short amount of time. So like basically catch me while you can.
Okay.
And yeah, I was basically just letting it be known, like, I feel you, this feels weird, but I'm at least putting myself out there hoping to, expand my horizons and see who exists. And he said in hindsight that he really appreciated that. So my advice to anybody on their profile would just be like, live in your truth. Don't try too hard to like write up something that sounds cool or fun if that's not you. Just write like, hey, this is weird and I'm here. Like, do you think this is weird? Something that someone can basically start a conversation on too.
That's cool. And while we're kind of on this subject, how did you guys, I guess, get together? Like, obviously, you all swiped towards each other, but what was the process after you two connected? And what app did you all find each other on?
Okay. So he super liked me, so you know it's real.
Dun.
And I had like so much respect for him because I, in my mind, which we just found this out the other day, but I in my mind was like, oh, there's a limited number of super likes, so if he used it on me, like, you know, that means something.
Mm-hmm.
But then I just found out the other day that he paid for subscription, so he had more super likes than I assumed.
Dang.
So it was probably like the only super like or whatever, but still, it meant something to me. And that process was, when we connected, we immediately had good conversation. And so what happened was, again, his profile was very vague. We had good conversation though immediately in that inbox section within the app. We met on Tinder, and I'll tell you guys that I only used Tinder because my thought process was, men don't think so out of the box. They probably only know this one app. So I figured that's where most men would be, even though I heard bad things about it in my city. So we met on Tinder.
Okay.
We had really good conversation in the inbox, and we didn't waste time getting outside of that little inbox and making a connection. Because I think the longer that you keep it online, you allow yourself an opportunity to like make up this person in your mind and find yourself disappointed when you meet them in person. So I wanted to hurry up and like
Get it out the
meet
way.
him because, yeah, let's just go ahead and get it out the way because we already know it's going to be awkward because, again, we met online and we thought the whole process was awkward.
Yeah, I'm patient, but I'm not that patient. Like, a lot of online people like to play around and stall you out. I'm like, you don't respond, then goodbye. I'm like, I'm not hurt by it. You know, it is what it is. But I feel if I put enough and you're willing to talk to me, then there's somebody that I would rather talk to instead of trying to play cat and mouse games.
Yeah. And so when so again, we were having that good conversation on the inbox. We took it to text probably within days. And then also within days of texting each other, we might have FaceTimed we FaceTimed one time, and then we met up in person.
Okay.
And during that process of us texting is when I found out that he had been married and he had children. So my thought process, y'all, was I'm like, I'm just going to show up because he's like not my checklist. But anyways, I was committed to the fact that he really made me laugh. There was something there that like kept this conversation going and this like excitement to talk to him every day. So I was really eager to meet him. So how was that?
That's nice.
I'm gonna say that sounds just like what Solomon was saying. So go ahead. That was your MO.
I mean, you know, you got to take these things kind of like a case-by-case basis. I mean, some people are apprehensive when it comes to meeting too soon. Some people, like you say, they don't want to waste the time. You kind of have to fill them out. But me personally, I was always on the, okay, let's talk for a little bit, maybe like a week, and then see, you know, what can happen from there. Because it's, like you said, you don't want to waste your time. Or you don't want to get too invested or build up this expectation of who this person could be, and then it's just a big letdown. I'd rather just be let down from the jump. But I mean, but if the chemistry's there and the vibe is there, you kind of just know, or you have a gut feeling about when the time is right, you know?
Agreed.
Yeah.
And I think that as you're like starting to talk about like the city that you're from and like the places that you go, you start to like kind of get like question yourself and be like, how have I never met you before? We're from the same place. We go to the same places. Like we had to have crossed paths. So I definitely get that.
I have a question for you, Sierra. You know, you're a good-looking woman, and I'd imagine you'd probably had a lot of guys who were interested in getting to know you. For me, that part was a bit overwhelming. So how did you figure out, okay, I'm going to reach out to this guy, or I'm going to actually engage in dialogue with this one, etc.? Was it strictly like looks, or did they have to have something catchy when they inboxed you? Like, what was it for you that made you engage?
Absolutely, and that's a great question. Thanks for asking that. So I'm big on vibes, and so it's all about like the things that you say to me, how you say it, like the timing. I don't know. There's a lot of things, and it's hard to like completely explain, but I think that, you know, we as women, we've got great intuitions, and so if people are like coming at you and it seems a little off or makes you uncomfortable or whatever, then like I didn't entertain that. But the big thing that I think that I was able to do that really helped me in that process was, some of my girlfriends, for example, the way that they approach online dating is they go through and they just like swipe on anybody who's cute or whatever. and then they have an inbox full of people. So I'm very thorough. I would take my time. I would examine all the pictures. I'd be reading the bios. I would
Make
like,
your
you know,
notes.
hold my phone back and be like, is he only cute from one angle? Like I was really into it. And my inbox, y'all, was never more than 5 people at a time because I knew it could be overwhelming. So when I had 5 matches, I was focused on those 5 conversations and that was it. And then I would make sure that I would clear out my inbox and like unmatch people or whatever before I would go back to the drawing board and add more people basically into the queue to get people to get to know. Because I think that if you allow so many people in and then you got all these people saying a bunch of stuff at one time, it can be overwhelming for sure.
I can only.
I am.
You said what?
She's the organized one.
Oh. My God, you can only say like how I'm doing for so many times, and it's every morning or, you know, at once. And I'm just like, I don't even care to answer this anymore.
Yeah, just a lot of small talk and trying to
Yes.
remember what
Where-
conversation you had with who, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a lot. It's a lot.
I would definitely say that's probably my least favorite part, just the amount of people. And I think the only one that I like actively gave like a real chance to is probably Hinge. And with Hinge, you get like all of those people, I guess, that like you at once. And it's just like, okay. Some of y'all, I don't even know how you found me. I thought my preferences were right, and clearly they weren't. And Hinge didn't care about that. But for the most part, I mean, you're sitting there with like all these people. It's, I don't know. So I can respect that. I think the other app that I tried but not really tried was The League. I don't know.
What?
The League?
Leah, let us know about the league.
Oh
Like
my
approved to get into it. It's like
Ooh,
supposed
it's
to be
elite.
more people in there.
Supposed to be high, you know.
I see why
And the
I know.
way that they do it is you can, what you say?
I said, now you see why I ain't on there.
Whatever. So, but somebody invited me to it, and so I was at it. But the way they do it, they only give you like 3 people a day, and you have to say whether or not you like them, and you only, I guess, have access to messaging them if you both like each other or whatever. And so it is kind of linked to your LinkedIn and all your other profiles and things like that. So you kind of, you know who you dealing with. So at that point, I can easily go to LinkedIn and look at your page. So it was a little bit different, but at the same time, at least you kind of know upfront, like whoever you're dealing with, and you don't have a million people at once trying to talk to you. And so I appreciated that part of it, but I did need a few more options at once because I can't just be no every day for a week. And so I kind of just gave up. But
I also think it's important to focus on one app at a time because I did try a bunch of different ones, but I found that I was like kind of turned off by people who had profiles on all of them and stuff that I would see, and then I was like, wait, I'm becoming that person too.
Yeah.
So I found just like one app that was like kind of working for me where it was starting to show me the kind of guys I was interested in, and then I began focusing on that one because I tried Bumble, I tried Hinge, and Tinder, and yeah, and so after I had tried Bumble, I didn't like the fact that I had to make the first move. I'm like, this is not for me. I'm like, the men who are on the other side of this who think this is cool, this is not what's up. And
That
then,
part.
for Hinge in my city, like there was no diversity. Even they gave me like a free 30-day trial where I could choose by race, and it still was not what's up. And then Tinder, I just had the best luck in my city.
what was your experience like, I guess, prior to swiping, Anthony?
Anthony.
Prior to what?
Prior to swiping. So, sorry, I was talking to Anthony, but y'all can't tell.
Okay. Are you asking what was my experience prior to swiping?
Yeah, so prior to that, like, which apps did you try and which ones did you find kind of like, I guess, some other negatives or just your experience trying the various apps, or did you kind of, were you one and done?
Yeah, I think I used Tinder and Bumble, but I didn't necessarily care for Bumble either. It's just weird when you said diversity. Like down here, it's very those people are over there, and then like it's not my speed. I don't care for those. Like I care for more like what's here. So Tinder has more diversity probably in this area, so that's where I primarily stayed at. The
Okay.
whole speaking first thing or waiting for somebody to speak to you also, I'm like, yeah, I don't have time for this. Just not to say that I don't have patience, but at the same time, like I feel like there's a lot of playing going on, and I'm like, I don't care for any of that. So
That's real. Would you two have any advice for a man or woman who is open to online dating, but they're kind of scared to make that jump?
I guess it's the way to go in 2021 now. I mean, you can't go anywhere. So I would feel more so if you want to meet somebody now, it's a lot easier. I mean, because you can't go somewhere. So I feel like that wall should come down some, because you meet people, they're going to have face masks on and stuff like that. And it's still hard to see what they look like. So just open up as far as that goes.
Well, that's very true.
First and foremost, it's not for everybody, and I don't think anybody should force themselves to do it if they're not comfortable. If you genuinely believe that you have a great opportunity or great ability to meet people the old school way or naturally out in public, then by all means continue to do that. But if there is just like a part of you who is kind of interested and open to it, I would strongly encourage it and encourage you to get out of your own way, get out of your head, stop worrying about what other people are going to think, because us meeting online was just like, that's just, if we focus in on it, that's how we met. But from day to day, we don't even really remember that unless we're engaging in conversation with people about it. It's like, you know, we've been together almost 3 years now, like 2.5. We're at 2.5, over 2.5 now. And so in hindsight, like online dating is like almost a blip on our radar. And so I just think that unfortunately has a negative stigma. I think that if we can just get out of, or basically change the way that we perceive it, that it can be a really great thing, as long as we just kind of open our minds and understand that this is just a tool to open up our like dating pool and to get outside of our own networks, get exposed to people that we don't necessarily come across. And one thing that I learned that I love about online dating was that I learned that I love a homebody. So for me, meeting a man out wasn't gonna work. He's always at home where I love him to be, and I wasn't gonna find him in the bars out with my girlfriends. So it's that, you know, online dating worked for me because I was trying to find somebody who wasn't like, you know, Mr.
Always on the move.
You know, Tampa.
Section and stuff.
Yes, that's exactly.
I've been down here so long that it's run its course, so it's like I can chill. I don't have to be out every single weekend. It's exhausting.
But even with the pandemic, though, and that's what I was thinking, or that's what I was gonna say earlier. But like with the pandemic, even if I go somewhere, low key, I don't know if I want to meet somebody out because you think it's okay to be out. Look, this is a one-time thing for me. You might be out all the time. So now we kind of now we different on that part.
Yeah.
They're out every weekend down here.
Florida is just as open as Texas.
Yeah.
So,
Well, you
yeah.
know, we stay on the news out here. So
Yeah, it's a mess. So I guess for someone who is trying it out during these times, I mean, we are slowly opening up with the vaccines and stuff. So, but if you, want to be safe and you meet somebody online, you can do maybe a socially distanced picnic in the park.
yeah. What are some ideas, I guess, that you guys would suggest, like, for that first meetup?
So for first meetup, I think that you would have to first pay attention to like what y'all have in common, what you guys think is cool. But I would absolutely say put yourself in a position that conversation can be generated. So although a lot of people say like movies aren't good dates, that is finally the date that we had that like really made us connect. Our first date was a lunch date, which was not a good idea. It was a limited amount of time. We both had to get back to work, so it was not a good first date. It was awkward. I honestly didn't think I was ever going to talk to him again. But I decided to show up for date 2 because I understood the circumstances. I realized we put ourselves on a time crunch, so I also don't recommend little coffee dates and like those things that are supposed to be short and quick because it doesn't really give you the opportunity to connect or get to know someone. So when I showed up for date 2, which we went to the movies, we actually went to go see a movie that was really thought-provoking. And so after the fact, we had a really deep conversation. I was like, wow, I really like your mind. Like, I love the way that you like think about this and how you're analyzing everything. So that's really what helped us understand like, oh, like there is really something here. So I would suggest doing something that's going to invoke conversation, whether y'all go out and do like a scavenger hunt around the city or something. I don't know. Something that's going to generate conversation would be my advice.
What movie was that?
Black Klansman.
Oh, okay. Was it John David Washington? That's the name? Yeah.
I like that kid.
Yeah, that was good.
My bad.
Okay, nice. So for you guys, would you say if someone is doing online dating and connecting with someone that they should meet up within, like a week? of matching?
I think he was saying earlier, just the vibes. You'll know when it's time to actually, meet up with somebody. If they feel like they're more apprehensive, take your time, get to know them a little bit more. But if they feel like, if you feel like you're comfortable enough, I will say go for it. And then, like I said, to me, like movies and eating as first dates, I feel like are big no-nos. And like, cause it's an awkward situation. Imagine sitting next to somebody you just met for 2 to 3 hours and you can't say a word. You can't really say anything. It's just like weird. Like, do I put my arm around you? Want to share the elbow rest, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Go somewhere where you could talk a little bit, like just out in the open. And I know as guys, like it's 2021, we're still trying to be traditional, but at the same time, in a more modern time, and with the gender roles, like, do I still pay to like this?
No, you definitely pay.
I mean, but I'm saying, but like,
well, shoot, let's talk about it.
If you're on a dating website and you're, suiting, courting multiple people, that gets expensive. So, you have to pick and choose your battles. Like, okay, maybe we should go to a park, sit down, maybe have a coffee.
Coffee, yeah.
But it gets expensive. You can't do that for everybody.
Can't do the dinner with everybody, man.
I felt it was appropriate for her that we can go meet for lunch and stuff like that. Just you have to kind of feel like who you're talking to. Some people aren't going to tolerate certain types of dates, and but you'll feel it. If you feel like that's not for you, then I would say try to go a different route. But I felt something there when I met her, so I'm like, I can let this slide. But
so you were willing to spend money on me because you like me, but you don't pay for her date.
I would say I would try to find the least expensive first date.
So that's the advice. Applebee's. That's the key. Applebee's.
Okay. Well, Sierra, you have the Swipe Right guide. Is that correct? Can you tell us a bit about it?
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, through my journey, I ended up getting so many questions. Also, because can't tell, and I didn't know in his profile, but he's 6'7", and so all these women are like, how'd you get this tall black man? Like, girl, put me on. They had so many questions they wanted to know. So basically, it became just something fun for me to do. I started writing out a curriculum, just like going through the whole process, things that I wish I would have done differently, things that I feel like I did right, and I wrote out a course on just basically how to prepare yourself to go through the process, kind of talking you through like when you actually match with this person, like how you should go about transitioning to meeting in person and all those different things. So I actually put together a course just to have like a one-stop space for people who wanted to like continue to pick my brain and learn more about a lot of these questions that you guys have been asking me. I wrote it into I recorded it in a series of videos, and then at the very end of the video, you get like our full story of like completely like how we met, the whole process of us matching to our relationship to date. So yeah, it's called the Right Swipe Guide, and the link is in my bio or the link is in our bio on our couple's Instagram page, Beautifully Blending. So it's very inexpensive. It's just a way to help get you in the mindset of online dating.
Nice.
And you have some, I guess, tips and tricks for some of the hesitant people like myself. Because even after talking today, I'm like, man, maybe if I hadn't already tried it, so I'm like, I feel like I'm still in the water just a little bit. I'm not all the way in, but if I wasn't, I would definitely kind of leap in a little bit more based off of this conversation.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I am not online dating right now. I'm actually dating someone. But if I were hesitant or kind of curious after this conversation, I definitely would be more, confident in giving it a try.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I love to hear that. And I think that has kind of become like a mission of ours, just because we too were both really hesitant, and we saw what a great person we were able to find out of the situation. And so I will forever sing its praises and just share with people basically our experience and what we've learned through the process, in hopes that other people will have success. I know quite a few people now who have gotten married, who live together, and who are dating, all that have met on many different apps. So it's not like a one size fit all or one stop shop for everybody. There's so many different ways that it can happen for you. But my biggest thing is just to be open-minded. And another thing that I'll share with y'all is that I had to really learn the importance of understanding what were non-negotiables and what were just preferences for me. And so when I went into it, I thought that my non-negotiables were a man that had children and all of these things, but those were just generally preferences. Those were not things that would make a person who had any of those characteristics or titles a bad person or a toxic person to be with or anything. It was just stuff that I preferred. And so when I really started like paying attention to what I preferred, my preferences versus problems, I realized that the dating pool became a lot more open for me, because like we have talked about, it can be kind of unnatural to have all of these matches coming at you at one time. And so if you can just, instead of like approaching the online dating as like, oh, assuming that there's going to be something wrong with everybody, and start looking at it like, let me see what's right with this person. What do we have in common? What do I like about you? And stop trying to like create this like big picture and this ending of what the whole situation is going to be before you've even determined if you like them. So for example, like, you know, when I would look at guys and I'd be like, oh, he got children. Oh no, I already see that there's going to be baby mama drama. There's going to be this, there's going to be that. And I didn't even know if I liked the man yet. You know what I'm saying? So it's so funny that like I started dating him and there's none of that. Like, I love the children, no baby mama drama. Like, none of the stuff that I like was in my head and worried about is like even a part of my reality. So
it's almost about, like, from what I'm hearing, is like follow through with it, because once you commit to it and once you feel like, okay, I can be comfortable with the whole idea of online dating, you have to kind of open yourself up to like really and genuinely getting to know someone. So the whole like understanding process first before you kind of jump to like, nope, could never do it. Nope.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
Yeah, not to mention,
basically just get out of your own way.
Yeah, not to mention, and I was thinking about, you know, you all's title of your page, Beautifully Blended. It's like, yeah, online dating, you got to get to know this person, you have to kind of evolve, and then there comes that point where you have to actually integrate the lives, you know, that family, this circle of friends, his circle of friends. And I guess my question to you all is, at what point did you all decide to do that? You know?
So
It was her. It wasn't me.
I know. So actually, as we told you guys, we both had came out of long-term relationships. We both were with someone else for 5 years before we met each other. And so first and foremost, we had already kind of, I think, came into the situation with our hearts open because we knew what it was like to give ourselves to another person and to be in a relationship. So I think that was kind of one thing that worked in our favor. But on the flip side of it, because I had been in a relationship for so long and he had been in a relationship for so long, I'm like, there's no way we're ready to hop back into another relationship. So I'll be honest with you guys, we dated for 1 year before we actually became official. So we were spending time together. I was dating other people and I was honest with him about it. I was like, listen, I've been in a relationship for a long time. I had no intentions of getting into a long-term relationship. When we first matched, I told him, I'm at this point in my life just looking for a companion. I want someone to hang out with. I want to go out to eat. I want to get drinks. I want to have a good time. I'm not looking for a boyfriend right now. If it grows into that, great. I was very transparent with him about that. He was transparent with me about how many people he was dating or wasn't dating. And I got to a point where he decided to stop dating other people. He wanted to get rid of his profile. I still had mine. And so then I got to a point where I was really enjoying his company and stuff like that too. And then I was like, you know what? And it also helped to have a good support system, because when I talk to my friends, they're like, girl, you are falling in love with this man, but you are getting in your own way. You refuse to commit because you've been in a relationship for so long. You're assuming he can't be your person because he wasn't everything on your checklist. Like, you are in your own way. And so basically when I got out of my own way and decided to genuinely give it a committed chance, to answer your question, Solomon, it was 1 year after we had been spending consistent time together, that we decided no, we're really into this. And so at that point is when we decided to bring our friends and our family and everybody else into the mix, because we were like, wow, a whole year has passed and we're still having a good time. So
shout out to your friends.
Very open-minded. Like, granted, I was married and got divorced and stuff like that, but it's just like I wouldn't put myself out or put myself in any situation where I wouldn't have an open mind about it, or just be like, I will be glad to take whatever comes with it. And if I meet a good person, even if I just got out of a relationship, I don't want to push her away just because of it. Of course, I wasn't divorced that long, but at the same time, I'm not going to get rid of you just because what
time in
other
your mind.
time in my mind, or what other people think, like, oh, you just got divorced, you in another relationship. I'm like, no, I mean, if you knew who she was, like I know her, then you will understand why I'm where I'm at now.
Go ahead.
That's beautiful. I was saying shout out to your friend Sierra for seeing the big picture and helping you see it as well, because that is definitely important. And just getting outside of your head, and like you were saying, Anthony, of what other people are going to perceive this relationship to be, et cetera, just following your heart and knowing what's right for you. So that's pretty awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Big. It's so big to just, get out of your own way and make your decisions for yourself, what feels right for you versus what your friends think. And it's so funny now, because now my girlfriends who are still single and still trying to like navigate and figure out like who their person is or how to meet them, now they're starting to be more open-minded, and they're like, you know what, I was anti this and anti that before, but your experience is now opening my mind and making me think like, you know what, it might not be that bad, and it was for me, like, for example, the whole children thing, I started realizing, I'm like, we try to mimic these relationships that maybe our parents or our grandparents had, and it's a totally different time. And so I didn't come from a blended family, but he did. So that was something that was like normal for him. And so for me, I had always had this vision of like, oh, my children and all this stuff is going to come from the same man, whatever. So I just had to realize that like times have evolved, and at the end of the day, like this feels right. And so I was just going to, continue to go with it. So.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah,
That's
me
such a good.
That's a word.
Y'all's story is great, and I'm definitely like, shout out to the people in y'all's lives. That was because I will be
Thank
quick.
you.
I will be quick to be like, nope, and I will low key keep it to myself until somebody asks me about it, and then like probably gets steered or directed in the right direction. So that's really good that you were open and honest, one with him, but also your friends.
Yeah, it is really important that you have people around who are like committed to just like, keeping it real with you, but like really supporting you. Like I always challenge people when they tell me like, nah, you shouldn't do that, but I'm like, but why? But why do you think that? And so I was happy to have people in my life who were challenging me and thinking like, but what's really wrong with that, Sierra? Like, we're getting older, you're very like career driven, you want to have children. I always wanted to have 3 children, and so they were like, you're worried about being with someone who has children, but it's kind of like a bonus. It's like you don't have to carry all of them, and I'm like, you're right.
High key.
Yeah.
Well, my bad. I feel bad, but it's like, you don't.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, again, you have to do what's right for you, what feels right for you. So.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, thank y'all so much for joining us. We certainly appreciated the conversation. Can you let the listeners know another time where they can find you all?
And the guide.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes. So you guys can find us at Beautifully Blending. So just as the word is spelled, beautifully and blending together as one word. That's our couple page where we share our journey from blending our lives online to everything after. And then
Great. Well, thank you again. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and we wish you all the best.
Good luck.
Thank you.
thank